rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick, and I'm running behind. Anyway, which is nothing new for a Monday, I guess. Yeah, all right. Anyway, you know, with all of the stuff regarding the press this past weekend, it kind of got me thinking how important what is essentially would be an unbiased press, what should be an unbiased press, is to our republic and everything that we are doing for, this is where we get all of our information. The press is where we get all of our information in that. So, yeah. Anyway. All right. I got a couple things on the, California. California. And, obviously I have, some footage of Trump, leaving a press, interview. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Anyway, plus you have the whole Scott Pelley thing. But it caused me to look up some stats and information about the press, and I've got some interesting, I consider them interesting thoughts on everything. Like I said, I'm running behind, so excuse me while I turn on my lights. Okay, there we go. Now we got the light lit up. That's a lot better. Anyway. All right, folks. Yeah, exactly. Anyway. All right. So, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. We have the NJY Camps Girls Band up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with the NJY Camps Girls Band as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah!
All righty. And here we go. I thank you, NJY Camps Girls Band, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, or whatever kind of file and attach it to an email. Send that email off to me. Send it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. And if you want to use your phone to record that, all you need to do is utilize the share option. That's the SHARE option, and you'll be able to send that off to me by sending it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will take care of I will take care of it and get you into the rotation. I have 24 out of 26. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done one yet, please do so soon. It would be really kind of cool to get it before before our 250th anniversary, but that's okay. I understand. You got till the end of the year. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get to tonight's headline sponsor. I'm wearing one of their fantastic shirts right now. That's right. Wearing, that's not what I want. Wearing one of their fantastic shirts right now, and that is, they are from theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com, and that's where you need to go. Okay. And yeah, there it is, theflagshirt.com. And right now, if you check out their men's, women's, kids, Made in the USA, America 250 celebration shirts, you can pick them all up. And if you order $75 or more, you will receive free shipping on them. Go to theflagshirt.com. Check out all of their patriotic styles and their accessories in the red, white, and blue as well. They've got patriotic outfits. They've got a Made in America collection. They've got all kinds of stuff. You can go and take a look. Any combination. Get ready. Seriously, get ready. This is the 250th anniversary of our country. We will never have another 250th ever again. So head on over to theflagshirt.com, get yourself decked out in the red, white, and blue, and get yourself patriotized. All right. Oh, boy. California elections. Well, folks, Spencer Pratt for the LA mayor looks like he is out of the running. Now, what looked to be like a clear path has become suddenly a much steeper climb. Now, here's the thing, and this is where you kind of get this, challenge going on here, okay? I'm just going to put this out there. Seriously. I don't necessarily know that I mean, there's not enough evidence to definitely state that, oh yeah, things that are illegal are going on here in California, for an example. I honestly can't say that with a straight face. I cannot be serious enough with any of you to say that with a straight face. However, just like the guy who comes to a card game and says, hey, I want to use this new pack of cards. He comes and, pulls out this brand new pack of cards and then starts manipulating the rules to have it fall within his favor. For an example, he deals out the cards and then takes a look at his hand and goes, hey, you know what? One-eyed jacks are now wild. And, we're playing a game of whatever. I don't know whatever the game is, but there's those types of people out there. Those types of people out there who seriously look at their cards. They basically, they're cheating, but they're not cheating. They're cheating in the fact that they're stacking the deck against you. They're stacking the rules against you. They're playing within the rules, but they're stacking the rules up so that it favors them rather than being, rather than having having integrity and basically saying, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to play that way. We're going to play so that everything is fair. Yeah, this is exactly exactly why the Democrats are doing so well in California. And this is exactly why I make the comment that, hey, we haven't had a free and fair election in Washington. See, the problem is not so much that the Democrats are doing anything illegal. The problem is the Democrats have stacked the deck. And what am I talking about? Here, it's pretty simple. Things like, oh, well, we want all mail-in ballots to come in, 7 days past Election Day, as long as they're postmarked on Election Day. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody is postmarking them or past postmarking them, but the possibility exists there. However, that would work within the rules, because they don't say, hey, if it happens to get postmarked on the following day for the election day, how are we going to know? Okay. How about this? Going to register, you have to have an ID. Notice how I said that. NID. It doesn't necessarily specify a government-issued photo ID with proof of citizenship on it, which is what the SAVE Act would do. Okay? In California, you can go down to the local LA Fitness, get a identification, just tell them whatever name you want, doesn't matter. Go and get the ID and use that as your identification to register to vote in California. California's got such a wide berth of variations of identifying yourself. I mean, you could basically have somebody write a handwritten note potentially. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know this for certain. Now, the other thing is ballot harvesting. See, ballot harvesting is legal in some states, meaning that you can go and you can tell somebody, hey, I want to make sure that your ballot arrives on time. Some states, you can only pick up 10 per person. Some states, there's no limit to how many you can pick up. See, this is part of the problem. This is within the rules. This is within the rules. Now, one of the problems also that you have is this thought process, and this is part of the reason why everybody is sitting here saying, Election Day should be Election Day. And like I said, the SCOTUS has yet to, like I said in another episode, SCOTUS has yet to determine or yet to rule on that. And it should, if they go by the way the law is written, it should stamp out a lot of this, mail-in ballots can come in and be counted up to 7 days afterward. I think Election Day is Election Day. That's it. Can't accept anything past that date. If it's not there, it's done. Now, that being said, there is a trend. And whether or not this trend has been modified or altered in any way, the trend typically has been that mail-in ballots do tend to go to Democrats in Democrat cities, counties, and states. Now, again, not saying that this is necessarily illegal, because it actually isn't, but When you have situations like this, and this hat tip to End Wokeness on X, who put this out. End Wokeness on X says, mail-ins arriving before Election Day broke down to Bass 38%, Pratt 27.9%, and the Noodle, both in intelligence and also what she looks like, Ramen, 20%. What's strange is mail-ins arriving after Election Day. Now, remember, statistically speaking, when you have a trend that shows up, you really shouldn't have that large of a variation as things progress. They should keep relatively the same because, again, statistical analysis, assuming all other things are equal, you should have a general trend like this occurring no matter what. So if you have basically a 40, 30, 20 split, okay, theoretically, you should be somewhere in the realm of that 40, 30, 20 split after Election Day. But that is not what is happening here. What is happening here, according to this End Wokeness post, is that the mail-ins after Election Day broke that. Ramen had 37% coming in, Bass at 35% roughly, and Pratt at 19%. Now you can take a look at that and you can go, well, wait a minute, Ramen had a 17 percentage point surge in the mail-ins arriving after Election Day. And you see how this could work. Now, here's the thing. It's not illegal in California to go and poll, let's say, the homeless population. Okay. And then all of a sudden ballot harvest all of those homeless. Now think about this. Who do you think is going to get the vote? If you go out there and you don't necessarily lie, but you manipulate the truth somewhat to make the perception look like, hey, you know what? That noodle lady, Ramen, she's going to give you everything because she's a far left socialist. She believes in, government taking care of you. Whereas Bass ran the first time on ending homelessness, and Pratt ran on getting rid of homelessness. So you're sitting there and you run these big ballot harvesting programs and everything where you go and you sign up hundreds of thousands of people using whatever form of ID. Oh, I have a picture from, like 70 years ago. Is that valid? Yeah, that's valid under California law. Yep. And now all of a sudden you have what is essentially this get out the vote drive that is polling a bunch of vulnerable people who may not even care to vote at all, and manipulating them in such a way that it's not illegal. This is the thing. It's not necessarily illegal to do this under California law. It is unethical, however. And that's where things go bad. See, this is part of the problem, and this is why things like the SAVE Act are extremely important, okay? It is legal to go ahead and do this, to do what they're doing. But that's because, again, the Democrats have worked it all out. They've worked out how to game the system because of the system being rigged in their favor. Again, this goes back to that guy or gal, whoever, that friend comes over to play cards with you and then manipulates the rules in order to put it into their favor. That's exactly what they're doing. And this is why everybody is sitting here and complaining about this, because of the fact that you have situations like this that happened on election night, which is essentially
Los Angeles is the most magical city in the entire world. Win or lose, I am so proud to be an Angelino, and I'm so grateful to call this extraordinary city my home.
Now, that was Ramen election night. She gave essentially what many consider to be a tearful conciliatory speech when it was determined that she was not gaining the votes that was needed to kick her to kick her into the next level. And she's sitting there crying, tearful about the whole thing. Well, no kidding, because she was losing. And again, this is part of the problem that everybody has. This is part of the problem that everybody has with things like this going on in California. Now, what makes it even worse is when you have a state that blocks the demand by the federal government to ask. California is blocking a federal audit of its voter rolls as the Trump administration ramps up its criticism of local elections. And I told you last time that we were, well, again, my news says it should be one Dem and one Republican. Well, yeah, it's what it usually is, unless you go to the top two primary candidacy like you've got here. Anyway, as I was saying, in California, the L.A. Top federal prosecutor, Bill Essayli, I'm going to Essayli, I think. Anyway, said on Sunday that his office wants to scrutinize the state's electoral system, and eyebrows have been raised over a sudden surge in late votes for Democratic candidates. And I just showed you what one statistical analysis demonstrated, was that all of a sudden this individual, this leftist individual, which many people in L.A. that are in the city are saying, yeah, this person never had any support. Speaking of ramen, the noodle was about as limp in the voting as, ramen noodles are when you come out from cooking them. She had no grassroots support. Nobody wanted to support her. Karen Bass got more support than she did. So how is it that Karen Bass is even being beaten by this limp noodle in these secondary drops and pushes of ballots? So, yeah. Now, Essayli wrote in a post on Sunday, he says, hey, California allows first-time voters to register using forms of IDs that most Americans would find surprising. Listing examples that included health membership cards, employee identification cards, credit and debit cards, prescription drug labels, and insurance cards. Yeah. Now, the last thing that I recall is that health club membership cards, I don't know very many that actually have pictures on them. Of course, then again, I don't really pay for health club memberships. So, yeah. Employee identification cards may, generally speaking. Credit or debit cards, I don't know of very many that actually have pictures on them anymore. There was a security push to put pictures on things like debit cards and stuff. Prescription drug labels, nope. They don't have any kind of ID as far as like photo ID. So you could hand it to just about anybody who says, yeah, my name is Rick, and it's done. Okay. Same thing with insurance cards. I know my insurance cards don't have anything other than my name. So you could, in theory, hand your insurance card to somebody who doesn't have an ID, have them go in and register as someone with your name. And there won't be any question because all of that is acceptable forms of identification. So, yeah. Now, granted, those forms of identification are permitted in limited circumstances where the voter does not provide a driver's license number or social security number during registration. Well, think about this. If you're a homeless person, you don't drive, you have no reason necessarily to have a driver's license, you don't have a job, so you don't have maybe you don't even have a social security number. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. See, this is all within the law. It's all within the law because the Democrats who have run California for, well, pretty much a decade or more now, since the last Republicans have actually been in control, maybe 2, 3, 4 decades by now. The last time the Republicans were in control was pretty much when Ronald Reagan was in charge, and California actually was a beautiful place to go. Anyway, you also have, the California voter rolls, whether or not California is actually adequately removing deceased voters, people who have moved away, or individuals convicted of disqualifying felonies. Now, I know that there's people who have reported that, hey, you know what? I live in another state and I received a California ballot. See, this is part of the problem here, people. This is why voting in person in the state is much more secure than mail-in voting. And by secure, I mean accurate. Anyway. And again, as Sale points out, he's like, California allows third parties to collect and turn in ballots on voters' behalf in a practice known as ballot harvesting with few restrictions. This makes it difficult to track who actually received, completed, and submitted each ballot. And that there is part of the problem. So, yeah. Yeah. Now, federal officials requested the state's voter registration list to evaluate compliance with maintenance requirements under the National Voter Registration Act and the Help America Vote Act. Now, you recall those are two congressional statutes that are constitutionally allowed because the Congress can, under the Constitution, can make or alter any regulations in any given state at any time. I told you about that. But no, the state is not going to allow that. So, interesting. I'm just basically saying, why won't they? And by the way, the dispute about getting those voter records is now before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the most overturned appeals court in the nation. I believe it still holds that record, even though it's actually been a little bit more correct in it. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, apparently, according to this piece, it's not even your full Social Security number. It's just the last 4 digits. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. See, it's this exact problem. This right here. It's this exact problem that everybody on the ethical, moral, standardization, integrity side of the aisle is saying, yeah, this is a little suspect. This is a little suspect. As we should. Anyway. All right. We'll see if anything comes of this, but I would imagine that Spencer Pratt is probably not going to move forward in the primary election. Okay. So let me take a quick break before I move on to my next topic. Well, let's talk about the Rumble wallet. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, like we've seen here recently when the government weaponized the banks against its political enemies, okay, you're in control. Now, keep in mind, this is a diversification of funds. I am not recommending you dump everything into crypto or anything else. However, it is a possibility that you can diversify and have at least a piece of your money outside of the system. So if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt the problem that you have with the existing current banking system. Now, fast forward to today, everybody's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. This is where Rumble Wallet comes into play. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Takes all of that complexity out and makes it simple. Choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold. This is the one that I like. Digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It just connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. See, I screwed that up everything. Here you go. Scan the QR code that's shown on the screen right now, or click the link in the description, or go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet, WALLET.rumble.com to get all the information about this diversification of your money. That's right. And download the Rumble wallet. You can also download it from the App Store or Google Play directly. From there, once you have it downloaded, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Or you can go from hearing about digital gold and backed by real gold and actually own some. So there you go. Go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet.rumble.com. And check out the Rumble wallet today. Well, Donald Trump has always had a love-hate relationship with the press. Part of it is because of the fact that, as he labels them, and this is kind of correct, that they are fake news. We've seen, especially recently, with the downfall of the 61 Minutes program that went from a what do you call it? Essentially from a journalistic organization into a editing your interviews to make them look better for the candidate that you like kind of an situation. Well, Donald Trump was in Wisconsin, and he was there, and the Meet the Press folks, Kristen Welker from Meet the Press, came up to interview him. Now, the exchange started to unravel in particular when the topic of election integrity came up, which again, integrity being the key word. Trump made it clear that he views the media's handling of these stories as part of the larger systemic problem and one that the press has deliberately chosen to ignore. They do that a lot. Anyway, here is a short clip of what I think is the tail end of this exchange with Donald Trump and Kristen Welker. Take a listen.
Evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
your
about
elections in this country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But Mr. President,
you're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I've sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what?
Mr. President,
a country can never be great with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
Now,
I spoke with President.
So she did speak with President Trump after that interview, and he did agree. He did agree to another interview with her. But here's the thing, though, folks, and this is the truth, and he hits on it. You cannot have a great country with a dishonest press. You cannot have a great country with a dishonest press. Now, he pointed out ABC, CBS, CNN in particular, those people, those folks. Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. Because those, what they claim to be, okay, equal. They claim to be non-biased. But yet you have organizations like allsides.com that does this and provides you with a media bias chart. Now, keep in mind, these ratings are based on online U.S. political content only, but that's what we're talking about is political content. Not any kind of TV, print, or radio, which is even worse in some cases. But if you'll notice here, we have a chart with 5 columns. The far left column is, yep, they're definitely leaning left. And you have things like, The Atlantic, The Daily Beast, The Guardian, Huffington Post, The Intercept, The Intercept, MS Now, The New York Times opinion column, The New Yorker, Slate, Vox. Those are far left outlets. Then, not so far left, but lean left, you have just about everything else that is a part of the leftist repertoire. ABC News, Axios, Bloomberg, CBS, CNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC, Politico, ProPublica, Time, USA Today, The Washington Post, NPR Radio. Yeah, NPR actually should be in the far left column. The New York Times regular news section, Insider, all of these are left-leaning and leftist followed outlets. Every single one of them. I can't even imagine. I mean, if you look at this chart, look at this. They put the Hill in the center. Yeah, that's off. They don't have, the Hill is not center. That's not center. I'm sorry. Newsweek, yeah, not center. There's hardly any. Reuters, oh my gosh, no, there's no way that Reuters is center. No way. I don't know where they get that. Wall Street Journal News is center? Yeah, that's probably, maybe. I don't know. Anyway. But every single, what I'm talking about, though, is that every single major news outlet, there's not one single major news outlet that is in here that is not left-leaning or leftist at all. Every single major news outlet. Now, one problem that we have, or one challenge that we have with this, is that people are going elsewhere to get their news. I've told you this program, I am not a news journalist. I am a commentator. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. If you're going to be a news outlet, okay, you're going to report on things from a fact basis and nothing more. There shouldn't be any slant, any perception, none of that. Any kind of bias, or at least perceptible bias, in anything that you report if you are a true journalist outlet. However, people are starting to lean more toward social media. And they're starting to lean toward people and podcasts in particular who have major followings. Best example I can say is somebody the likes of Tucker Carlson. Now, I myself, I'm going to tell you, I do have a bias. I do have, obviously, I have a bias more toward truth, facts, evidence, things of that nature. And I have integrity. I'm going to tell you. If I told you something, I'm going to tell you I told you. I'm not going to take it back. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, yeah, I didn't say that. But yet, Tucker Carlson, as an example, has millions of followers. Millions of followers. And all I can tell you is that you can't trust this guy. You literally can't. So here, hat tip to Milk Bar TV for this compilation. This is about 3 minutes long, and this is Tucker Carlson against Tucker Carlson. Take a listen. As soon as I can hit the play button. All right, take a listen.
My view is you can kind of tell who's telling the truth. You can smell it.
You've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, you said, could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Could this be the Antichrist?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips.
Raised some eyebrows this week when you said that Hamas is more like a political organization than a terror group.
Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization.
I didn't say that.
The future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
You said in our previous interview, the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent.
I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it. A lot of young men in America, mostly white, but not exclusively, listen to Nick Fuentes really carefully. This kid is the single most influential figure among young white men, and not just white, actually.
Is that true?
it's definitely true. Of course, half the thing was about Fuentes, and like, who cares? Fuentes?
There was a lot of Fuentes.
Who cares about Fuentes? Talk about irrelevant.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying my principle.
They're an ally, right? I mean, they both.
I don't know what that means to be an ally.
Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally of ours.
I come to Israel and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, it looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came in 53 years ago.
It's great. Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true.
Let me get to the nub of the question, since, again, a lot is at stake. A lot of money is at stake. Land is very valuable. Israel has a lot of resources. We have a huge country. This is a country the size of New Jersey with no resources.
An attack on Western civilization looks like this. It's tribalism. It's identity politics. It's DEI. It's whatever. It's Zionism. It's any belief system that begins with the understanding that one group is morally superior to other groups.
Well, just on principle, like every other group in the world has the right to its own homeland except white people? Like what?
JD has been subject to, this is well known, but I'll just confirm it, nonstop treachery.
Accusing people of treachery, so I'm wondering, who do you mean specifically?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never worked there. So like, if you don't work there, you can say, you can say what you think you know, but it's hard to really know. If I was telling my kids, if you think someone's lying to you, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, Tucker. Thanks for that. Oh, folks, gosh. It's pretty sad when we have such a disparaging differential between, the press. And again, the only reason why I'm picking on Tucker Carlson is because Tucker Carlson, by a lot of people, I mean, you could pick Candace Owens, you could pick Megyn Kelly, you could pick any of these people who have essentially jumped on the grifter train, and I'm calling it that, but jumped on the grifter train and have been like, hey, you know what? If I say stuff that's controversial, it's no different than the War Room with Steve Bannon. Have you ever looked at Steve Bannon? I mean, the guy, same thing with Alex Jones. Even many of these other podcasts that are out there that are just fantastic podcasts. Fantastical podcast, not fantastic in terms of, not fantastic in terms of great, but fantastic in some of the claims that they make in all of this. And I'm just sitting here looking at this and I'm going, where did our integrity go? Where did our desire for a unbiased media actually go? Because as many people have noted, freedom of the press is one of the, was the first top freedom, the top freedom, because it was written in the First Amendment to the Constitution. And what a lot of people don't understand is, again, those 10 amendments, many of them came directly from the treatment of the colonies and the colonists by the English army. See, the English army would go and try and get rid of the papers and the periodicals that were being printed in the day, because many of the periodicals and the papers were disparaging to the king. And this is why we have challenges with the American press today. Well, believe it or not, America's trust in mass media has been dropping ever since around 1976, as an example. Here's just one of two. This is a Gallup poll. This is a Gallup poll here. And America's trust in mass media from 1972 at its highest, right around 70, well, let's see. 72%, has been falling off completely down to about 31%. 31%. So, there you go. From 20, now this was done back in 2024, so it's actually dropped even further now. I've heard the latest, which hasn't been published yet, but the latest is somewhere around 28%. But if you just think about that, America's trust in what was supposed to be a people protecting institution in America, supposed to be a people protecting institution in America, you wonder why we're having so much difficulty and so much of a split in everything. Well, what's even worse, though, is that split and the breakdown of this is essentially because of the fact that we are not dealing with a free press anymore. Now, what if you take a look at this poll? Let me zoom in on it here. This is from Pew Research. And it basically states that Republicans are more likely than Democrats to say the U.S. media is not very much or not at all free to report news. I am, as far as free to report it, sure, they can report it, but I don't think what they report is actually all that free. And if you look at the second chart down below, how many Republicans say that news outlets are influenced a great deal by political interests, all you have to do is go back to this chart and you can see the political interests of those main folks. Yeah. So, yeah. I got a few questions in the chat here from a newcomer, Mandresis. Mandresis is asking, should I be able to sue news outlets if they publish false information if I can prove it in court? Well, yeah, and that's where all of the lawsuits come from, of course. And yes, if the court can be brought evidence of what is declared true and false, we already have that. That's natural. That's regular law. And yes, liability does extend to news outlets publishing wrong, well, medical information was the specific question. But yes, liability does extend to news outlets. See, that's the difference between a publisher and a platform under U.S. laws. So if you recall, there has been a lot of talk about how, Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and, X and all these others, they're considered platforms, meaning that the individuals that post things on them, the platform itself, meaning X or Facebook or YouTube, they're not responsible for what somebody says. And that's the legal definition difference between a publisher and a platform. The publishers are the ones that are actually putting out the information, writing the stories and everything else. By the way, I just want to point something out here. Notice where the AP is listed here, meaning that they're left-leaning. The Associated Press is where a lot, and I mean a lot of papers get their stories from. The Associated Press. If you ever watch, take a look at the bylines. I've said this before, but if you go and watch and take a look at the bylines of any kind of a story, you'll see that it'll say printed with permission from the Associated Press or something along those lines. Well, here's another variation with regards to whether or not, I got to find it here. Oh, did I may have closed it. Hang on. Oh, here we go. Well, here's the difference when you start looking at things like, for an example, when you start looking at things like who actually believes in the press, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. And this is just one indication right here. If you take a look at this chart, you'll see that the Democrats have a much larger percentage of people who have confidence in the press. And the reason being, and I got to kind of get my head out of the way here. The reason being is because of the fact that, well, yeah, they kind of align with it. A leftist reading a leftist paper. Wow. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, yeah, I agree 100% wholeheartedly with that. But what's interesting in terms of all this, though, what is interesting is how many people feel that the press, and I got to find it here. How many people in the press, and I might have closed it. Hold on. Yeah, I may have closed it. Hold on here. I'm just looking. Anyway. Oh, here we go. What's interesting is how many people actually feel as though they should be interesting. Anyway, how many people, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, should actually be doing their own research about any particular story? Now, what's interesting about this is, again, Democrats trust more so than Republicans do in terms of the press today. But as you can see here, it's an almost even split. In fact, it's almost equal between Republicans or Democrats, and even those that lean Republican or Democrats, that, the majority of Americans believe that they should do their own research about a news story. There's a difference in how people are doing their own research. Some are just bouncing it off of other outlets. And if you go back to this chart and go with what I just said, hey, I read an article in ABC News, and then I read that same article or something similar in CBS. Do you think they change? Do you think that changes the content? No. Because again, like I said, you take a look at the byline and they both came from the Associated Press. Or, hey, I read something in the Atlantic and then I saw that same article in CNN. Is that, you would say that would be, quote unquote, or at least Democrats would say that would be do your own research. Well, no, actually that isn't. That isn't what do your own research actually is. Or even better yet, they say, yeah, I plugged it into Google. Or God forbid, AI chat GPT or something like that. No, what's important is that we have a free press that can print what they need to print. And by free press, I mean being able to print that but make sure that their facts are straight and that they're correct. Free doesn't mean that they can print anything. That's a tabloid. A free press means that they are free from biases, free from, modifying the story to fit a certain political leaning. They're free from interference from a national government that tells them what they can and cannot do, like what X did prior to Elon Musk purchasing it. That's what is important to the freedom of the country, because we do need to have a slate of individuals who are searching the truth out regardless of what a certain political party's narrative actually is. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways or at the angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.